And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new Solution Debates. I am your fellow co-host Dibo, along with my other co-host Matt.
Ooh, almost had it. Almost had it. I was gonna say, anytime I hear you say, "and we are live," it just never gets old. Never gets old.
Does not. I think we are reaching 60 episodes with this podcast in this new YouTube-based format, if I'm correct.
What do you mean YouTube-based format?
Well, since we've made podcast episodes for YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. Obviously you got to start somewhere, and we've been trying to be consistent. I feel like we've been pretty consistent. I mean, definitely on the shorts. How long has it been since we didn't post on a short, or over a year?
Wait, no. Say that one more time.
How long has it been since we went a day without posting a short or a reel?
Okay, so it can't be a year. I think in months.
In months?
Yeah, for sure. It has to be in months.
In months. Really? You think?
Yeah, it can't be a year.
Why you say so?
Cause finals week during winter break, around that time, I think that was when we had to slow down, which was unfortunate. Excuse me, because obviously we love making extra content for you guys.
Yeah. Really? I feel like we kept it, but you're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably right, especially considering you're the one posting it. You probably know. I can't lie.
Pretty much, yeah.
You can't lie.
But hey, man, we were low key selling last week. Our apologies. Oh, excuse me, this week. Hey, man, finals week. It was kicking
facts,
our ass.
Facts.
Hey, we have as much time as we did as earlier in the year. So, on behalf of us, we'd like to apologize for that. But with summer, it's going to be all smooth sailing. We're going to have content ready.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I mean, they still showed some love last week. And so I wanna show some support for that, because even in a slower week, we were still growing. So
yeah, for sure.
They're not giving me a lot to complain about. I'll say it like that.
Nah, me neither.
But one thing I could complain about is that, and we could do the plug early in the episode, I guess, that we were saying let's get us to 850 on YouTube. Fell a little bit short of that, but let's shoot for it once again. We got a week. We'll probably be here a week from today, or less than that actually. But let's shoot for 850.
For sure. Let's shoot for it.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. But you want to get into today's episode, or you got an icebreaker question?
Ooh, no, I don't got no icebreaker questions in my mind.
I'll ask you this one, because we were talking earlier, and I told you I had a donut earlier today. What is your go-to donut?
Ooh.
And from where?
Go-to donut?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to go with plain glazed from Krispy Kreme. You can't go wrong with that.
You can't go wrong. I was just about to say you can't go wrong. That's a instant classic.
Mm-hmm. But the place, the donut shop where I go to the most is Winchell's.
Ooh.
Near my place. It just recently, started up. I usually get a plain glazed donut with filling inside, lemon filling.
Ooh.
It's super fire. So
I was listening to JJ Redick's podcast. This was a while ago. This was when he was playing in New Orleans, and he was I think it was before Jimmy hopped onto the episode. It was just him and Tommy Alter, and he was saying that somewhere in New Orleans he had a churro filled donut.
Churro filled?
Yeah, that immediately sounded delicious to me.
Bro, just filling up the churro in the stick, all the filling in there.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That would be crazy delicious.
I love that.
But for me, I'll say, Krispy Kreme glazed donut is hard to beat. I honestly might go with that one as well. One that I actually kind of have quite a bit is just chocolate with sprinkles from Dunkin' Donuts. There's a Dunkin' Donuts right by my place. But I like the Winchell shout. I didn't even know that there's one in our area. So when we hop off, you'll have to tell me where it's by.
Hey, man, for sure. Hey, we got, if we can, we could get some donuts there sometime if you want to.
Coffee and donuts?
For sure.
Just a cup or something?
I mean, like some well-oiled businessman, to put it that way.
Absolutely.
Make it more sophisticated.
Absolutely. Nah, I'm all with it. I'm all with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all with it. But, all right, let's get into the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for the agenda today, on my list, I have playoff eliminated teams with the brightest and worst future. We'll debate about that. And then moving on from it, top 5 players right now in the playoffs. Lots of great performances from these star guys, man. I can't wait to debate about that. And then lastly, for our main segment, which really, with this episode, obviously playoffs are still going on. Conference semifinals have been in full swing. Lots of entertaining series so far. That will be our main segment. Biggest takeaways from each conference final series. Obviously going to talk about Nuggets Wolves. I can't wait to talk about that. It's going to be my favorite one to talk about. And then moving on, we have Celtics Cavs, unfortunately, and then Mavs OKC, and lastly, your Knicks against Indiana.
Yeah. I have a feeling. I'm not hoping for this, obviously, but I have a feeling that the top 5 list is going to end up being the main segment. And then takeaways will be like the middle talking point, and obviously brightest and darkest will be like the intro.
Okay, sure.
But I don't know. I'm the most excited to talk about top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But let's start with the brightest teams. I want to hear who you have first. Who do you have as the brightest playoff team eliminated?
I think this one's a no-brainer. We kind of mentioned that before we started recording this episode, and that is the Orlando Magic.
Correct.
And although I'm still very sad that Orlando did not go through that Game 7 this past Sunday, blowing an 18-point lead, albeit on the road as an inexperienced team. That's still hard to swallow, even though they massively exceed expectations. 13 more wins compared to last season as well. There's still a lot of bright spots to look at this roster, man. They have the culture. They have the good head coach in Jamal Mosley. They have the franchise guy in Paolo Banchero, which, hey, man, for his circumstances, going up against Cleveland with pretty much the whole team breaking from all over the court throughout this series. You had inconsistent play from Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs, although I do like those guys moving forward, the secondary pieces. Banchero had a phenomenal first playoff series as well. 27, 9, and 4 as his stats on 46 from the field, 50% from 3. Not 50%, 40% from 3. Excuse me.
That's so good, though.
Yeah, very good. And with this team, again, the franchise guy, the secondary pieces, the culture, along with having the flexibility and cap space, as well as the first-round picks, it's a very bright future for this Magic team moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Magic were almost like a no-brainer in the pick by default, because when we look at the NBA landscape and we look at the teams that were eliminated, like the Suns, like the Clippers, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Heat even, those teams all have like an aging superstar. Their teams are getting much older, whereas the Magic were really the only team, one, that exceeded expectations, and then two, that has their young franchise player still developing, right? This is only year 2 of Paolo Banchero. I believe that this is only year 3 of Franz Wagner, I want to say.
Yeah, it's year 3.
Yeah. And there's just a lot of bright spots for them. And on top of already having the youngest roster out of all those eliminated teams, they also do have, I believe, the youngest coach, and Jamal Mosley, who I think is, although they lost the series, I think what he did with their product and what he did with their talent was really impressive.
For sure. What I didn't like about Jamal was the heavily leaning on the all-bench lineup with those rotations.
Yeah.
I just felt like, although that was one of the reasons why that Magic team was so good in the regular season, the playoffs is a whole different animal. And with what we saw from that Magic bench, guys like Cole Anthony, Joel Ingles in his spot minutes, others as well. Marco Fultz, I thought he was a liability too in that series.
Yeah, they're really only good bench piece this series was Jonathan Isaac.
And Mo Wagner as well.
Oh, yeah. Mo Wagner had really good backup big minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But in that game 7 in particular, I didn't like how when the Cavs were going on that run where they trimmed the lead down from like what was it 18 to I believe 10 in like the last 4 minutes of that second quarter. I didn't like how he didn't like at least call a timeout, and then 2 reinsert like the starters, because I understand Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs were struggling, but I just think having those guys on the court, they're just like winning players in a sense.
For sure.
And like, yes, Jalen Suggs wasn't hitting the 3, but he's probably your best defensive matchup against Donovan Mitchell outside of John Isaac.
Bro, Gary Harris is getting fucking fried by Spotty, man. Gary Harris should not be on this team next season, by the way. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent.
And Klay, well, I don't want Klay to go there, but
neither.
Klay Thompson's going to be the Gary Harris replacement.
If Klay is going to be a starter, then I would not love that move at all. 6 man, okay, I'll be a little bit lenient on that one.
I just don't think they need a shooting guard. I think they need a point guard.
I'm agreeing with that as well.
Like, I think Jalen Suggs is honestly going to be a really good. Like, I think he's meant to be a shooting guard, just a straight 3-and-D guy. And then he can also have the athletic plays for you, like a good playmaker at your 2 position. But I just think that the 2 is where he would excel.
For sure. And with obviously they need a point guard, offensive-minded point guard, a strong ball handler. Who do you think is their best option for this offseason, or realistic option?
You know who I'd actually like?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would like it if they can get him on like a 2-year deal, maybe 3 year if the last year's like a team option. I think James Harden would actually be a decent fit. I think James Harden would be a decent fit. I don't think like the Magic are winning a championship with James Harden in any way.
No.
But I think that James Harden is going to elevate your guys to the level that you want them to play at, and he's going to get them that playoff experience.
Hypothetically, I like that move.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, if we're going to go more realistic, I think D'Angelo Russell would be the single play. I think getting him on a short-term contract, 2-year deal, short-term would be nice for this team moving forward. You get a proven ball handler, can score massively in big spots, as we've seen over his career. I mean, the playoff concerns are a big issue, but for this Magic team moving forward, I think he would be a very good fit.
I'm trying to see the top point guard free agents in this class.
A home run pick would be my guy out of Portland, Anthony Simons.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I just don't think that would be
although
made.
I did hear Chauncey might get fired.
Yeah. I also did hear that he's gonna be no. I think actually no. My fault.
What?
I was thinking about him going to the Suns as a front runner, but that obviously has been debunked. It was from like a local reporter.
Oh, I like the Coach Bud hiring, by the way.
Yeah,
I do like the hiring.
Hypothetically, if that were to happen.
So right now I'm seeing Tyus Jones. Is Tyus Jones a free agent, or is this wrong? How long was that contract he signed? Oh, he didn't even get signed. He got traded. So Tyus Jones, Monte Morris, Kira Lewis Jr., which he's not going to go back to the Raptors.
Is he going to be in the NBA next season?
He should be like on a team like the Trailblazers. Like I remember when the Knicks, right before they kind of found their way, one thing that they were trying to do was like give busted lottery picks like a second chance. Like guys like Mario Hezonja, who was the 5th pick, Noah Vonleh was the 7th pick. They were trying to give those type of guys like some burn to see, hey, maybe there's some potential here that we can unlock. I think that's where Kira Lewis could go.
Nah, they already got Delano Benson, and he was like,
and Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah, that's true, and Scoot Henderson, and a lot of other guards too as well.
Yeah, Delano Bennon's a free agent though.
They might re-sign him.
Campaign is also a free agent. Those were like the top 5 they gave me.
Dang, that's a weak point guard class.
Yeah. Well, this is a weak free agency class in general.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, I would love the Simons move. I would love the Harden move. The D'Lo, there's not a lot of teams that like D'Lo on. Unfortunately,
no, he's not really a great fit.
Yeah.
On any of the contending teams as of this moment.
I wish. Is there any world like D'Lo would accept a 6-man position? Because that would be a role he would excel, but
no, he wouldn't.
He's not. I mean, he's also coming off like a season where he had his best season since the All-Star year.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's gonna be hard to convince somebody like that to be a sixth man.
Yeah, for sure.
I could see him going back to the Nets.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't know what Brooklyn's doing, like their whole philosophy, but
yeah,
if they want to win now and you get a cheaper option at the one, then I guess go with D'Lo. But
because they're for sure gonna re-sign Claxton, their new coach, Jordi Fernandez, I want to say.
Yeah, I believe from Sacramento's
Correct.
coaching staff.
Correct. Already said that like bringing back Claxton is number one priority. But outside of that, like, the roster is not pretty at all. Oh, Dennis Schroeder's a free agent, too, so you got that money off the books. Although it's, like, $7 million or less than that.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. But, yeah, their franchise is in shambles.
Yeah, but we always mention that every episode now. It's kind of funny. It's a good running joke.
Well, speaking of being in shambles, do you want to talk about darkest playoff future?
The team with the darkest playoff future, in my opinion, is the Los Angeles Clippers.
Wow, we agreed again. I thought you were gonna go with the Suns. Why didn't you choose the Suns?
Well, with the Suns, you have the young borderline superstar in Devin Booker,
True.
who he could possibly request a trade if the ship continues to fall in these coming seasons, but you still have that long-term stability with a young star like a Booker. I don't see that with the Clippers at all. That team is very aging. PG, he's 34. He could opt out of his player option this offseason. Harden, yeah, pretty much. James Harden is going to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason as well. Kawhi, who is 32, he is going to be under contract for 3 more years. And at this point, do you really trust this man to be able to play a full postseason, which he hasn't since the bubble year? Yes.
2020. Yeah. Nope. I heard you say the word long-term stability, or I guess the phrase long-term stability, and that's exactly why I chose the Suns over the Clippers, because when you look at the Suns' top 3 guys, Book, KD, and Beal, all of them are on contracts for multiple seasons. And so you can either keep them and, you'll stay in playoff contention, or you can trade them and get some assets back. Whereas the Clippers have a very similar, like, depleted pick drawer or treasure chest. And their roster doesn't have that stability of contracts. As you mentioned, James Harden is obviously a free agent. Paul George is likely to test his market. And you just have all these aging pieces where, like, as you mentioned, Phoenix has these young guys like Devin Booker, whereas the Clippers, who's their best young player? Terrence Mann. If we're counting him as young still, or
he was bad. Well, he's like 27.
Yeah.
Zubac is 27.
Because he was a 4-year
well.
player at FSU, right?
Yeah, he was. So if we're technically speaking, the Clippers' best youngest player, I think it would be Bones Highland.
Oh, Bones Highland.
Kobe Brown.
He's raw. He's
raw. Mad raw. He's super raw. He was getting PJ Tucker's minutes within the middle of the season, but he was clearly inexperienced.
He's actually older than Bones Highland, so I would go Bones.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Brandon Boston.
Damn.
Unless you want to count the first guy who ever blocked Wemby in the NBA.
Kai Jones?
Kai Jones.
Kai Jones. I forgot he signed with the Clippers. Hey, shout out Kai Jones, though. Good for him, man. Good for him.
Hopefully he can bounce back.
For real.
Where did he go to college? Texas?
He did go to Texas.
Shout out Kai Jones. Shout out Kai Jones. Didn't think I'd be saying that a year ago.
I mean, he had the great summer league dunk against 1B2.
Oh yeah.
Hey man.
What a game! Like, what a highlight game for him.
That was. Hey man, he can call the family after that. He can tell his grandkids that, hey bro, I posterized Wemby in a summer league game one time.
He should wait like 10 years. If he's gonna be a grandparent, he'll have waited. Because Wemby's gonna go down like conservatively top 20.
Top 20 all time?
Yeah, conservatively.
Damn.
If we're already,
I can see like at worst top 15. But that's hey.
Yeah.
Well, once you get there, we'll get there. But
yeah, fair. But you want to move on to top 5 then? Unless you got something else to say about the Clippers?
Yeah, I just want to mention one more thing. They don't own a single first-round pick until 2030.
Until 2030.
Yes.
So even though the Suns traded 4 first-round picks for Kevin Durant, they're still going to have a first-round pick before the Clippers?
Yes. I don't have the year on my mind right now, but I for sure know it's going to be well before 2030 when that time comes. Yeah.
Well, I know for sure because of the stipend rule where you can't trade consecutive years picks. You have to have like a year apart. But yeah. And now look how bad that Paul George trade looks.
Yeah.
Because one of the picks turned into J-Dub.
Yeah.
And then the other turned into Cason Wallace.
Yeah, I love Cason Wallace.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. He's really good.
Yeah,
I'm excited to talk about that series.
For real. Great game last night too.
Great game last night. I can actually start us off with the top 5 because speaking of that game, my number 5 is a Thunder player. And that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Damn, for real?
Yep. I really like what Shai's done this offseason, this postseason, not offseason. And like there's been so many good names that are still currently in the playoffs. This is currently, by the way, I don't know if we mentioned that, currently in the playoffs. But I feel like when I look at the other 4 players on my list, they've consistently been the number 1 guy on their team throughout like the playoffs. Whereas Shai, it's mostly been Shai on the Thunder, but there's been J-Dub games. There was the weird game 3 in New Orleans where Josh Giddey had a game. Chet's had games. Like there's been a lot of other pieces which I guess hurts Shai in this conversation, which kind of sucks. But just the other 4 guys on my list, I feel like have been clearing away their team's best player.
I don't agree with that.
Fair.
I really don't. You're talking about the team's best scorer, most efficient player for the amount of volume he's been getting, best closer by a landslide. I really don't see your argument being towards the Thunder not having like a clear number 1. And obviously,
I'm not saying
no. But I'm saying an outgoing best player or during every game compared to the rest of the players on your list.
Well, I mean, I think the first 4 players are definitely like, I don't want to say like Shai's not the alpha because Shai is the alpha, like clearing away. Yeah. But the other 4 guys aren't getting the contributions of Shai's teammates. Is what like spoiler, no spoiler, because I'm a Knicks fan. Like Jalen Brunson is on my list. Jalen Brunson has had Josh Hart. He's had Dante DiVincenzo, OG games. None of those guys are really having the same effect, like to some extent, as Chet and like J-Dub, in my opinion.
Josh Hart
is low-key.
I don't know about that. We'll get to Josh Hart soon.
Josh Hart could have damn near made this list.
The Knicks bro, he's been fucking phenomenal. Holy shit. Like I have this in my notes. He's played. Well, he's been in. First of all, the amount of heavy minutes he's been getting since the playoffs have started, like unreal. And for him to be putting up the numbers like he has in the 76ers series and obviously the Pacers series right now, it's incredible.
I think he's top 3 in rebounds in the playoffs.
Oh, he has to be.
Which, no surprise. But yeah, Shai, it feels like a knock at 5, but it's just because the 4 names in front of him, I feel like, have just been phenomenal these playoffs. And Shai's been class as well, but I really like the 4 names ahead of him. Who do you got at 5?
Number 5, I have Donovan Mitchell from Cleveland.
Okay.
And obviously, my reasoning to put him here is the same as yours. The other 4 being as dominant this playoffs as well. Man, I got a stat in his last 4 playoff games. So going back to Game 6 versus the Magic, he is averaging 38, 7, and 6 on 51% shooting from the field, 40% from 3. It's really unfortunate to watch his PR over the years dwindle because when it comes to April, May hoops, Donovan Mitchell, in my humble opinion, is one of the greatest playoff hoopers in this league by far. And it's super unfortunate that, well, it's super unfortunate that it's not going to be as celebrated compared to his peers because of the teams he's played on.
Yeah.
But the way I saw him lead that Cavs team from that hole, and especially pulling off what they did in Game 7, coming back 18 points down to beat them as well, on a team with limited scoring, especially with the Magic series.
Yeah.
None of their shooters could hit a shot. Darius Garland was very bad for his standard. Mobley was very wishy-washy.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to put the team on his back and at a point where next season he might not even beat a team, which I honestly believe he will, but just to put the team on his back and say, hey, I got us. I'm going to lead the way. I'd be damned if we're going to lose to this young Magic team, even with me being injured with my bum knee.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to lead. We're gonna beat this team, and I'm going to lead us. And I love that from Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah. You could definitely tell in Game 7, out of the second half, Donovan Mitchell's leadership and playoff experience took over. Mm-hmm. Whether it was like getting the crowd energized, talking to Darius Garland during the commercial break, like getting into his ear, trying to boost his confidence. It was clear that his playoff experience and what he does in those moments was taking over the game. And especially in the last 2 games of that series, I think he had like over or close to 50% of his team's total points. Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely absurd, especially because he's also doing the playmaking as well.
Yeah.
And so I have no problem with you having Donovan Mitchell. We were talking earlier, he was like just on the bubble for me. Like he would have been 6 or 7. So I got no problem with it.
For sure.
For me, I'll move on to my number 4. And this is probably bad coming off of yesterday's game, but I think he's been better than Luka these playoffs. I actually put Kyrie Irving as my number 4.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Kyrie in that first Clipper series I thought was by far and away the best player, keeping Dallas in it multiple games, helping them pull away in the blowout game in Game 5. And I have his points just from that series against the Clippers. 31, 23, 21, 40, 14, and then 30 in the closeout win. On 51% from the field and 45% from 3. So he was efficient. He was scoring the ball at will against a team that has this known defensive mind and Ty Lue with good defensive pieces like Paul George, Terrence Mann, Russell Westbrook. And Luka that series was you just said Mobley was wishy-washy. Luka that series did not have his best series. He was a bit wishy-washy. And Kyrie definitely put the backpack on that series, and he showed why he's still one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, for sure. And although I don't have Kyrie obviously in my top 5, yeah, he's been blowing his ass off this postseason, especially in the Clippers series when Luka was having those inconsistencies. For him to step up as a number 2 and lead this team to big wins, it was very huge for this Mavs team. Yeah,
for sure. And he kept them in games even though they lost some, and he definitely helped them pull them away. And I just feel like, well, one, I actually thought about this on the way to work. Like, I think Kyrie's been phenomenal, but I still think, one, Jalen Brunson would be better in that position. But, 2, I think that they're so happy that they got Kyrie for that trade. Like, looking back at it, when all you had to trade away was, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and, I think it was a first or 2 first?
I think 2.
2 first.
Seth Curry was in the trade, right?
Seth Curry, yeah. And then they got something back. Maybe it was Kessler Edwards? I don't know. But either way, it doesn't really matter. But there was a lot of uncertainty about Kyrie because if you remember, he didn't play at all during that season with the Nets because of because of New York's COVID policies, and he was unvaccinated. And everybody already had these negative associations with Kyrie or negative connotations with Kyrie because the earth is flat and all that stuff. But for him to basically go to Dallas, sign this contract, and then essentially be quiet ever since. Like, I haven't heard anything about, like, Kyrie conflict or confrontation since he's been in Dallas, really. And he's been a good locker room player. You can tell that he's being a good teammate. And I really like what he's done for this organization.
No, and in my opinion, with what Kyrie has been doing this year, this has been his best season as a player since his days with the Cavs, for sure.
Yeah.
From an on-the-court perspective and even off the court, I mean, all the videos that have come out from the Mavericks media team, it's him conversating with Luka and the other role players with the Mavericks. Just him being a great teammate, like you said, Matt, and just being connected with that unit.
Yeah, and I remember one thing that happened in Game 1 of the Thunder series, which we'll obviously get into. They were getting blown out, like they got fucking whooped in that Game 1. But Kyrie, like during a timeout late in the fourth, was like going like this, like pushing everybody's chin from looking down to up. And I remember the first guy he did it to and he talked to was P.J. Washington. And then we obviously know how P.J. Washington responded and had, a 29-point game leading scorer for the Mavericks last night, basically helped them pull away in that key win. So I just think that leadership is really showing right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But who is your number 4?
It's my computer's not loading right now, but I know who it is. It is Shea, SGA, 29, 8 and 6 in his first postseason run. Phenomenal. Just him stepping up as a superstar guy, which we've been known for months now. Had his MVP campaign, which obviously he didn't win, as I was a huge SGA for MVP guy for the majority of the season. Congrats to Jokic, though, on winning it, for sure. He deserved it.
I wonder who had Jokic in the preseason. Thank you.
Yeah.
Obvious pick, but continue.
Yeah, but for him to rise up to the occasion and to step up as a playoff performer for his caliber and him being an experienced guy in that situation, it's a great thing.
Yeah, as you mentioned, like this was the Thunder breakout season, and for Shea to finish second in MVP, obviously the best record in the West, is amazing because you have some great candidates around him. Obviously, Jokic finished one, but you have Tatum in the Celtics, who had the best record in the league. You have Luka putting up video game numbers. You have Giannis putting up the second most points in his career on the best efficiency of his career. And for all that to happen and for this young guy to lead a young team to the 1 seed and be the second most in MVP shows just how bright his future is in this league. And then regarding the playoffs, I can't complain with 4. He's been phenomenal. I obviously said that he was my 5, and he's just been great. Clear number 1 on his team, I'll say.
For sure.
I'll move on to number 3. My number 3 is Nikola Jokic. My number 3 is Nikola Jokic. I just feel like he was 3 by default. Like, I feel like my 1 and 2 are my 1 and 2 clearly, and I think Jokic has just fallen into that third category.
For sure.
That game 2 against Minnesota was really disappointing, but outside of that, he's been really good. He's been really good this playoffs.
That game 2 was disappointing for the whole entire Nuggets team. We'll obviously get into that later.
Except for Justin Holiday, breakout game from him.
I'm not gonna talk about Justin Holiday like that. He had a solid game.
He was their best player on the court that game. Him or AG probably.
Damn.
I thought. I mean, he was what, like 4 of 6 or
yeah, I think he was 4 of 6. Yeah.
4 or 5 from 3. That's good production from him.
Yeah.
But who is your number 3?
Same as you. I have Jokic.
Nice.
Hey, if we base it off the Lakers series only, I obviously would have had him top 2. But with the Wolves series ongoing, obviously that is not the case. He's still the clear best player in the world, but shoot, man. Salute to Gobert, Naz Reid, and Cat, because they have all done a hell of a job containing him in the paint, which that is very hard to do. And even though when I say contain, he's still going to get your damn near 30 and 12 rebounds, maybe even higher in the playoffs, because he's such a great offensively gifted player.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm going to move on to my 2. And I wanted to put him 1. And I honestly think I would have put him 1 if it wasn't for the first 2 games of the Philly series. But Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is this playoff's leading scorer. And he basically, I honestly think, has had one of the hardest roads, at least first round, because you're basically a 2 seed playing a 3 seed, in my opinion, because the Philly team obviously was a 3 seed all year before Joel's injury. But for Jalen Brunson, first player since Michael Jordan to put up 4 consecutive 40-point games, and that's not including the 39-point game he had before the streak started. And even last game where he didn't put up the crazy amount of points, taking over late in the fourth, coming back in the second half from that injury, playing every minute, and just being phenomenal down the stretch. I can't ask for any more. He's my number 2.
For Brunson, he has the most clutch points in a playoff run for a player since Steph back in 2022. That's how great of a run he's been going on this year.
Wonder if somebody told you about that. But one thing I want to say, this man Tibbs was so disrespected for Coach of the Year. I am sorry. Look, I understand everybody was upset about the minute allocation during the regular season, and that hasn't changed in playoffs. But what else do you want him to do when half the roster is out? Like, do you not want him to go out there and try to win each game? Yes, because J.B. Bickerstaff should have been above him for Coach of the Year.
Oh, shit. I did put Bickerstaff above Thibodeau. That's true.
It's fine.
I put Mazzola over Tibbs, but yeah, he should have been in that convo.
Fuck no.
64-win team?
2 seed, 50 plus win team? Or I think it was just 50 wins.
Barely 50.
We didn't have half our roster.
Barely 50.
You go out there and try to win with Precious Achiuwa starting for 20-game stretch.
Hey, man, you're guessing up Achiuwa when that trade happened.
Him regular season at the 4 next to Hardenstein was actually looking good. I'll check score and see how it's looking tonight. I'll see how it's looking tonight. But who do you have at your 2? I'm assuming Brunson?
No, I actually have Anthony Edwards.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I have Anthony Edwards. It's just off the fact that what Brunson's been doing for a guy his size at his position, it's incredible.
For sure.
And I'm not saying Ant's not been having a great postseason, because obviously he has, especially during the Suns series. But what Brunson has been doing this year with this Knicks team, it's incredible. Very reminiscent as a Celtics fan of our 2017 team, with Isaiah Thomas leading the helm, being the superstar he was, getting MVP votes that season. It's really the same team.
Can I say one thing? And we've obviously referenced multiple times that we think it's going to be a Knicks-Boston conference finals. That stat about Brunson's clutch stats almost makes me want to pick Knicks in that series. Because we've seen the Celtics' fourth quarter execution late in games. We know that the Knicks love close games. I was saying earlier, it's basically like you don't even have to tune in to the first 45 minutes of Knicks games, because the last 3 minutes of the game, it's always going to be a one-possession game and just a dogfight to the end. But with that being said, I also don't want to face Boston. So if Cleveland can do the unthinkable, that would be nice.
Nah, man. Hey, if you're gonna say that you guys would beat us in a 7-game series, I want the smoke.
Well,
I want.
We'll beat you in a 7-game series, but
yeah,
we'll beat the Cavs in like 6.
Yeah, you're not doing that. You're not beating us in 7 series.
Y'all have lost all the fear in people's hearts.
Whatever. I do not care. It's the Knicks. I'm not worried about.
It's
New
the
York,
same
man.
Celtics team.
I'm not worried about New York, man.
All right.
I'm not worried about the Garden, bro. I'm not worried about MSG.
Boy, we got the real Garden. You know that's facts. You know that's facts.
I'll admit. Yeah. Bro, TD Garden is so quiet, man. It's been like that for the past couple seasons, bro. It's been so bad.
Yeah. Can't say that about MSG.
Yeah, whatever.
At all.
Whatever.
But my number 1 is Anthony Edwards. I obviously mentioned Jalen Brunson's 40-point game streak, and I didn't mention the fact that he's sneaky good at drawing charges. I know he led the league in the regular season for drawing charges, almost becoming like Kyle Lowry-esque at doing it. But the reason I have Ant above him is, 1, as I referenced, the first 2 games of that Philly series. And then 2, I feel like what Ant is bringing on the defensive end of the court is almost unmatched because Anthony Edwards is scoring at a ridiculous rate, being crazy efficient, and he's also almost defending better than Jaden McDaniels. And I just think that that's absurd for him to be playing like 35 to 40 minutes each game and doing that every night. Mm-hmm. Especially against the talent that we saw like Book, KD, even Bradley Beal, and then obviously we saw what they did against Jamal Murray. I just think both ends of the court, he's been the best player in the playoffs.
Very reasonable. Very, very reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot. I have one question before we obviously move on.
Yeah.
So, with Anthony Edwards right now,
mm-hmm.
do you consider him to be a top 10 player in this league?
I'm going to say it like, actually, yes. Yes. I'm going to put it like that. And here's why. I had Devin Booker as a top 10 player going into the league. Mm-hmm. And Booker was my best shooting guard. Mm-hmm. Anthony Edwards is now the best shooting guard in the league. And so I think that makes him top 10.
Okay, so...
Do we want to go through the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before I say, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Because Book, obviously, he had the deep postseason run to the finals, leading that team damn near the same age as Ant-Man is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if Anthony Edwards, if he and the Wolves weren't to do the same thing the Suns did, getting to the finals, would you still have him over Booker?
That's tough. I think so. And the only reason I say that is because I don't think, well, it's kind of unfair to do it to Book, but I think the Clippers would have won that series if Kawhi was healthy. Now, that's the biggest asterisk you can put on any Clippers team since they've had Kawhi is, if Kawhi is healthy.
Which, obviously, that's...
Never.
Yeah, I mean... It's it's never going to happen. It's a figment of all of our imagination.
That's never. But I just feel like with that competition that Ant is going against, I just think it's so much more talented than that Devin Booker run. You're talking about a team in the Nuggets who a lot of people, including myself, were deeming to be the next dynasty. You had the Suns in the first round who... Although they might not have the depth or the structure, they definitely have the top-end talent. And then in the conference finals, you can pick who you want between the Thunder or the Mavs. It's not going to be an easy series either way.
Damn. I'm going to say an easier answer for that, just defensively.
Yeah.
Ant-Man is a way more impactful defender than Devin Booker. And for a top option, a superstar talent, when the shot's not falling, in what other ways can you impact the game? And I trust Ant to impact the game way more than Book just off defense alone, which obviously he's had a massive improvement over the year.
I will say one big advantage I think that Book has over Anthony Edwards is the playmaking.
Honestly?
I think so.
It's not that big of a gap. Now, I still think D-Book is a better playmaker than Ant-Man, but... Uh-huh. I honestly don't see that big of a gap.
Fair. All right, so you want to go through this top 10 list then?
Sure.
All right. Jokic?
I'm going with Jokic, obviously.
Okay. Right here. Let's rephrase it for the real, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Anthony Edwards or this player for top 10?
Okay.
Anthony Edwards or Jokic?
Jokic.
Giannis or Jokic?
Giannis. Damn.
All right. Giannis or Anthony Edwards?
Giannis.
Steph Curry or Anthony Edwards?
Fuck. I'm going to say Steph.
Joel Embiid or Anthony Edwards?
Embiid.
Kevin Durant or Anthony Edwards?
KD.
After the playoff series?
It's
you gotta respect.
It's a lot of restraint with that option.
Jayson Tatum or Anthony Edwards?
I'm a Celtics fan, by the way, for any new person watching this. Oh, man. Give me a moment.
Yeah, go for it. Think about this one.
Oh, man. I'm gonna go with Ant.
Nice. I love it. All right. Jalen Brunson or Anthony Edwards?
Ant.
Fair. I agree. Luka Doncic or Anthony Edwards?
Luka.
LeBron James or Anthony Edwards?
LeBron.
Anthony Davis or Anthony Edwards?
Ant.
Kawhi or Anthony
Ant.
Edwards? Ja Morant or Anthony
Ant.
Edwards? Kyrie or Anthony Edwards?
Ant.
I'm trying to think who else. Book or Anthony Edwards?
Ant,
We already
obviously.
did that one. Shea or Anthony Edwards?
This one is hard as well. I'm gonna go with Shea. Though.
Anthony Edwards or Jimmy Butler?
Ant.
Anthony Edwards or Damian Lillard?
Ant.
I think that's it, honestly. Let's see if there's anybody I'm forgetting. Ant or Paul George? I think we know the answer
I'm
to
not
that
gonna
one.
answer that question. Pointless.
Ant or Wemby? No, I'm playing. Ant or Zion?
Ant easily.
Okay. I think that's Ant or Paulo, I guess.
Ant.
Ant or Donovan Mitchell?
Ant.
Ant or Tyrese Maxey?
And every other player you're gonna say, I'm gonna say Ant.
Ant or Trae Young?
Ant.
Okay, I agree. I'm glad you didn't even think twice about that one.
I didn't.
All right, you want to get into round 2 takeaways then?
Yeah. Hey man, Trey FC. We're losing the war. We're losing the war.
The debate might be over, my friend.
I'm not gonna wave the white flag. I got one more left in me. Shout out Vince Carter.
If Brunson wins that Celtics series,
He's not going to.
if he does, it's undeniable at that point.
He's not going to.
Oh my God, I'm gonna be so excited for that episode.
I would be damned if Jalen Brunson beat the fucking Celtics. I would quit watching basketball.
Oh,
I would quit watching basketball. I'm so dead ass. I quit watching the Celtics.
we just need Porzingis to be out. If Porzingis is out, we got a real chance, I think.
Well, half your team's out.
Yeah, I know. That's why we need Porzingis out.
Man, don't worry about it. Achua got it. Hardenstein got it.
Hardenstein, former Finals MVP, by the way. Did you know?
G League.
G League Finals MVP.
Word.
On the I don't know what they're called, but the Rockets G League team.
No, that's the Raptors. I was about to say 905.
Oh yeah, that's the Raptors. Rockets G League.
They gotta be.
RGV Vipers.
What the? I thought it had something to do with like the stars in like space.
Nah, that would make way more sense.
Yeah.
Wait, that might not be. It says Rio Grande Valley Vipers.
I think that's the Rockets G League team.
Yeah, it is. It
Okay.
is.
Sweet.
Yep. All right, what series do you want to start with?
You want to go with your team first?
Sure. I would love to. What is my takeaway from the Knicks and Pacers series? There's the obvious one with Tyrese Halliburton.
He needs to be more aggressive.
He needs
that's
to be more
That's
aggressive.
the easiest one. One shot, second half of game 1, 0 in the fourth.
Yeah, and in the fourth of game 2, he wasn't aggressive either.
No,
He wasn't aggressive either down the stretch, which was odd because at least game 1 you could say, oh, he's not having the best shooting performance. He was lighting it up in game 2, especially from 3 in the first half.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Game 1, he only took like 8 shots the whole game.
This is I already kind of spoiled my takeaway, I guess, but my takeaway is Tibbs is the most disrespected coach in the league, and I'm gonna continue to say that because you cannot tell me a team with Isaiah Hartenstein, Precious Achuya, Miles McBride, and Dante DiVincenzo getting enormous minutes. You would have expected that team to be 2-0 up in a second round of a playoff matchup after beating basically the 3 seed in convincing fashion.
Bro, do not say this.
They were basically the 3 seed if we're being real.
Bro, don't boost your agenda like that. That's nasty word. That's nasty word.
Where were they before Joel's injury? The 2 seed?
Hey man, but that was in like what, February? There's a difference between those 2 months in that time span.
Yeah, and that was Tyrese Maxey's development. And him becoming the best player of that franchise.
That's cap. That's so cap.
Nah, they need to build around him, though. I'm going to
That's
continue
so
to say that.
But speaking on Tyrese with his aggression,
Yeah.
I will say this. His playmaking has been phenomenal.
Oh, for sure.
Throughout this whole playoff run. Just
Yes.
throughout the games,
Yes.
right, within the flow, his playmaking, although he's not that great of a downhill player, just his pure IQ as a point guard, knowing where players are on the court, breaking the defensive coverages that you guys are throwing at this Pacers offense with his passing, making cross-court passes to the weak side with that coverage. It's been phenomenal. And that's why for the Pacers, really for this whole season, that's their offense is getting great looks on the perimeter because Halliburton is such a great playmaking engine.
Yeah, I honestly think he has a very genuine case for being the best playmaker in the league. But I think he's putting the Pacers organization in a really difficult spot because as an organization, you need a guy like Anthony Edwards or Devin Booker to know that you can reach that promised land. And it comes with scoring and being aggressive in the most important minutes. And for this Pacers organization, they're going to have to look at, can Tyrese Halliburton be that guy, or is he going to be like a Chris Paul, Rajon Rondo type of a guy, where he's going to always be this all-star, elite playmaker, one of the best playmakers in the league, but in the most important minutes, he might not show.
Hey, first of all, although you're right, keep Rondo name out.
That's like Rondo is like the ceiling for that type of a player.
Absolutely.
Like Rondo is a compliment. I mean that in the nicest way because that's a 2-time NBA champion.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like you said, for the Pacers, down the line for his extension, do we really want to give this guy max money, super max money, when we're seeing on the court, he's not playing like a superstar player. He's not playing even as a bona fide number one option in a playoff series.
They already gave him the max. Or are you saying like, will they regret giving him the max?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I just, it's tough because like, I think previously they were thinking like, oh, we have Tyrese, we got Pascal as a second piece. Now if we get that third piece, we can really become like that contender in the East. Whereas now after this playoff run, yes, Tyrese has been very good in the playoffs. Like I don't think he's been bad necessarily. I just think he needs to be more aggressive, and that's hurting his team. Is his aggression or lack of it. But now I feel like the Pacers have to question whether Tyrese is the second guy, Pascal is the third guy, and they need to look for that number one.
For sure.
And that's not a fun position to be for an organization.
Even for Pascal as the number 2 against your Knicks, he hasn't had a good series at all.
No, but he was really good in that Bucks series. He was really good in that Bucks series.
Yeah. Hey, it's a lot different having to go up against Bobby Portis, getting thrown guys like that
versus OG.
Yeah, it's a 9-day difference, and you can say that for all the Pacers roster because those numbers against Milwaukee, they were obviously inflated without a guy like Giannis leading that Bucks defense.
Yeah, and that's what like I was kind of licking my chops for was because I saw Jalen Brunson struggle the first 2 games. I'm like, bet like if we can get out of this series, we'll either go against that Bucks defense, which is like barbecue chicken, or this Pacers defense, which is like free cheese. So it was like a win-win
for sure.
But what's the next series we want to talk about? Do we want to stay in the East or?
No, let's talk about Nuggets Wolves.
All right, go ahead. Say what you gotta say.
Oh, shoot. Hey, first things first, we gotta address the elephant in the room with that series, in my opinion. Jamal Murray. Hey, first of all, that was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen from a player, like a star player, in my years watching basketball from Jamal. During that game, too. He should have been suspended, first of all.
Okay. Continue. I just think it's interesting, but continue.
Yeah, in my opinion, he should have been suspended because not only for throwing the heat pack, he also threw a towel within the game towards the ref as well. Also making the money sign towards the referee in that game, which when you combine all of those actions together, I just think that would have equated to a 1-game suspension. But he got off free, had to pay the fine, and obviously he's going to play tonight in Game 3 on the road in Minnesota, which is fine.
Okay, so you're saying Jamal should have been suspended for throwing a heat pack.
Yes.
Yet when I came in here talking about Joel Embiid and his multiple malicious fouls, I would call them, whether the one on Robinson.
I say he should have been suspended for the
You didn't say
leg grab on Robinson. Yes, I
you
did.
You said he
Roll
should have
the
been
tape.
ejected, not suspended. That's what you said. I would have remembered if you said suspended, but you were laughing at me for saying he should have been suspended.
Because it was in the heat of the moment. Hey, it was just cool because I was waiting for you to get off. It was a funny moment, realistically.
It was a good.
I was just disrespecting you or the Knicks. It was just a funny moment that we could look back on.
But I don't know. I don't think he should have been suspended. You could say ejected, although it didn't matter. He was probably playing for the Wolves more than the Nuggets that game.
Mm-hmm.
If we're being real, but the Nuggets are just in such a tough spot now,
Bro. Not even with Minnesota, you lose 2 close games to be down 2-0. Throughout the 2 games so far, especially in Game 2, they got their asses kicked.
Game 1 was close.
No, I'm saying like for Game 2.
Game 2 was a blowout.
Game
for
2
sure.
especially.
Yeah. Game 2, I can tell you how much of a blowout it was. So I was with Abdul and Sadeghi. We all got haircuts. It was a little bit ago. That's why it's not as clean for you viewers. And the haircuts ran a little late, so we were late getting to the game, but we were going to go to McGregor Square to watch Game 2. We're driving halfway to downtown. It gets to halftime for the game. We see it's a 30-point game and immediately turn around. That's how uncompetitive it was. We're like, it's not worth it to drive another 15, 20 minutes, waste that gas, and watch a blowout in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Minnesota Timberwolves, for letting me go to bed early that night. I saw Justin Holiday had a good game I saw. But outside of that, like, the most interesting thing to me was trying to guess all the bench, like seeing if I knew all the bench warmers during that game when they came in.
I'm not gonna lie, I was confused with some of the names.
I was too. There was like a Nuggets player. I want to see if I can find him. That I had no idea who he was.
I saw Tyson at the back of somebody's jersey. Pickett. I was like,
yes, Pickett, Jalen Pickett. That's
I ain't never heard these plays in my life. And as a diehard NBA fan who wants to be in the know and needs to be in the know because obviously I want to do this as part of my future career.
Right.
Knowing all the rosters and all the players on it.
Yeah.
I was confused. I was starstruck.
Yeah. But that was prime Julian Strawther time.
Yeah, for sure.
Prime Julian Strawther time.
But going back to as I was saying, to get blown out like that, Game 2 at home, and throughout the game, retaliating to the refs, complaining the whole time, not being focused within the game. Offensively, all the blitzes, especially on Jamal Murray, all of the doubles, just Minnesota, which, by the way, their rotations, just defensive adjustments have been fantastic.
That's insane.
Shout out McAnoy, shout out Chris Finch, and shout out the rest of the Minnesota coaching
by
staff.
The way.
I don't know, man. He's kind of, and that's from his own words, he's kind of like a puppet when it comes to him coaching right now. Because Chris Finch, obviously, he's doing the majority of it.
From the sidelines,
yeah.
He is. Yeah, I've seen that.
But still, salute to him.
Yeah.
Being in the role he's in right now. And salute to the Wolves personnel, especially with their big man depth, as I mentioned before.
And I actually wanted to give a bigger shout-out. Well, first I wanted to mention, we talked about how Jamal should have been ejected in Game 2. I thought Mike Malone should have been ejected for...
Well... Honestly,
it might have been justified in the call.
It was the ref,
but
I think in the ref's mind, he was just like, "Hey, man, I can't eject this dude. I know I messed up with my call, so it's just like I won't let him take it out on me, and I'll just keep moving it on."
That's fair.
Although I do understand that he should have been ejected.
If it's regular season, he's probably gone.
Yeah. Oh no, you would have been gone. Yeah. But playoffs is just like, hey, man, we can't have any extra drama going on
But
with this series.
But the player I want to give a extra big shout out to, and if we want to bring back an old segment, Matt's Man of the Week, Naz Reid. Because in game one, we saw Naz Reid take over down the stretch where he had basically 10 straight points for the Minnesota Timberwolves in the last 5 minutes before they got like a notable lead, and then it really became the Anthony Edwards show. And then stepping in for Gobert, although they did start Kyle Anderson, but he got big minutes obviously in game two, and he's just been phenomenal. Obviously won the Sixth Man of the Year. I thought well-deserved, even though I did have Malik Monk, but I thought well-deserved. And he's just been – I was thinking about this the other day. He would have been perfect for Milwaukee. He would have been the perfect 5 for them. And instead, he's won the backup, which does look like – which is not a knock, but it's just like he could be doing such bigger things. But then again, he's also looking like he's on the favorite right now.
For sure.
And he's been an integral piece for that.
Yeah, I mean, salute to Naz Reid for having a phenomenal series, a phenomenal postseason, a phenomenal season in general, man. That dude's a hooper.
Right.
One of my favorite players in the league by far. I honestly thought when he was a free agent, he would have gotten bigger money on another team. But hey, salute to Tim Connolly and the Wolves front office for keeping him long term with that unit.
Yeah, he's on a 3-year, $42 million contract, which is $14 million a year. Bargain for what? You basically have I would damn near say top 15 big.
You have a high caliber starter as your sixth.
That's
insane. And he can play defense, can play make too for his size.
And he can
put the ball on the floor, shoot.
And he's like versatile for a big because he has one lateral quickness. Like they've run 3 big lineups with him as the small forward, and they've run small ball lineups with him as the 5.
Yeah.
And both have looked good. And it's just and it's amazing.
You have a complete big, a two-way big. One of the best bigs in general in this league for cheap for the next 3 years. It's an amazing deal.
Where was Naz Reid before the Timberwolves?
Before the Timberwolves?
Yeah.
He's been with the Timberwolves ever since his rookie year, for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was undrafted out of LSU.
Yeah, 2019 draft, undrafted.
Yeah.
And then he signed with the Iowa Wolves, G League, and then got promoted.
Damn, I forgot the Wolves got a G League team in Iowa.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Nah.
I just saw it because I looked it up.
I remember that from like 2K19 though. I remember.
I don't know why. I thought he got traded with Malik Beasley from Denver. I don't know why. Was that Jared Vanderbilt who I'm mixing him up with?
Yeah, it was Vanderbilt.
That makes sense.
But one more player I would like to give his flowers to is Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And for Cat with us, every single year we've had this podcast, we basically shit on him.
Yeah.
Been saying he's soft on the court, obviously. Been saying that the Wolves should move on for him. And that's been a running thing with us for the past 2 years, ever since he's been starting this podcast.
Yeah.
But, hey, I don't know about you. Cat should be with this team long term, obviously. And for what he's been doing, not just offensively, which in this series against Denver, he's putting up 24 on phenomenal efficiency as well. On the defensive side, especially in that game too, guarding Nikola Jokic without Rudy Gobert in that Roman position at the 5. For him to stick with Jokic, make him super uncomfortable, which for Cat and his size and him being one of the strongest players in the league, he is one of the very few players to throw Jokic off his game.
Yeah.
And so for him to continue that without obviously the best defender in the entire league, Minnesota's best defender for sure, it's phenomenal. And it's just an indictment on Cat's focus this year, deferring to that number 2 spot, contributing there, and being such a plus defender defensively as well.
And we also have to give credit at the same time to Tim Connolly, which I think you did, but just the fact that he stayed with the vision, because obviously he was the former GM of the Nuggets, and and so he kind of knew what he would be coming up against. And obviously he saw the Nuggets win the championship last year and probably thought, yeah, there might be a dynasty on our hand. And he had a vision of how to beat that, kind of knew it from the inside. And he has assembled probably the best defensive team in recent memory. I'm struggling to remember a team in recent history that was more impressive on that end of the court.
22 Celtics.
Ime had them boys working. I can't lie.
Yeah.
I can't lie. That was a beautiful defense.
Our defense was near generational that year.
Oh, wow, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I honestly think this Mavs I keep mixing up the Wolves and the Mavs. Excuse me, y'all.
I mean, they got similar logos, low key.
Yeah, you said not me. But this Wolves defense, I think it's better than ours from that season where we went to the finals.
It's for sure impressive. Because I can't remember who's coming off the bench. Obviously, I know one player being Grant Williams. But the Wolves, they have really good defenders off the bench. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Obviously, we mentioned Nas Reed.
I want to talk about Nickeil Alexander-Walker a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a little bit, but just for a sentence. This man was almost out of the league.
Yeah.
He was getting bench warmer minutes in Utah. Mm-hmm. Almost out of the league. I didn't think he was a contributor for any NBA team at all. And for him to lock in Minnesota last year versus the Nuggets in the first round, he was great in that series too. Mm-hmm. I honestly thought it was a fluke. Next season, being the great contributor he was, he proved me wrong, obviously. Mm-hmm. One of the best 3-and-D guys in the league. Fantastic glue guy off the bench. Phenomenal. I just want to give him his flowers too as well.
Which I think we were talking about the Nickeil Alexander-Walker, not Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the Kira Lewis Jr. thing, where he was a lottery pick in a team. Will a team give him a flyer? That's exactly what happened with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Late lottery pick, drafted by the Pelicans too, got traded to a team, didn't do much there. Now I don't think Kira Lewis Jr. has the defensive capabilities or necessarily even the offensive capabilities of Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
I mean, for Alexander-Walker, he came to the league as a scorer.
Yeah, he did.
As a score-first guard.
He did.
None of his traits related to defense, although he did have the build to be
he has the length.
Defender.
He had the length for sure. But I just think that snagging a guy who, look, he showed flashes in New Orleans on a competitive team. Maybe just Utah in their direction kind of tanking in that second half or taking, not even tanking. Was he there when they were tanking? It was the first year. He was there the first year, right? Or no, he was there during the Rudy and Donovan Mitchell era, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
He was.
It was at the very end when they clearly didn't like each other.
And you know who they were playing over him? Trent Forrest.
That dude, is he still in the league?
I don't think he is.
I don't think so.
I don't think he is. Let's look.
He was with us too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's on the Hawks.
Oh, okay.
He's on the Hawks. He played 38 games this season.
How many minutes per game?
That's what I was just about to look up.
How many minutes?
Let's see. Stats. Maybe. If it loads.
Hey, yo, shout out AJ Griffin. No, I hope he bounced back next season. I just want to get that out the way.
The AJ Griffin. Oh.
The Hawks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
I was thinking. Had a lot of internal issues with the organization. Played a ton of G League minutes this season. Hopefully he can bounce back.
And Trent Forrest got more minutes than him. AJ Griffin got 8 and Trent Forrest got 10.
Damn. Okay.
Also, I mixed AJ Griffin up with Adrian Griffin. That's why I was confused for a sec.
I mean, obviously they're related, so.
True. Which I hope Adrian Griffin gets a job because it's not like the Bucks are a lot better without him. But an assistant job.
Yeah, for sure.
Nah, I don't think he's getting a head coaching job.
They did that man dirty.
They did.
That was nasty.
And what's crazier is they already signed Doc to what, a 3-year extension? That's absurd.
That's nasty work.
That is. Yeah. That's horrible. They really sold their franchise, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Oh, and while we're on the topic, I actually think that this is a really good thing. And I'll shout out you for this because I heard you say it in the group chat first. But, like, with Milwaukee won the championship, and then the following season they basically came in with the same exact roster, right? Starting lineup was Drew Holiday, I guess that they did lose Dante DiVincenzo. But
he wasn't even a big contributor to that.
Well, he was injured during the first round, maybe second round too of that playoff.
Even then, but still.
Yeah, but Grayson Allen, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Brook Lopez, they kept that starting five. Kept Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton off the bench. And what was your really only move? Bringing in Jay Crowder. And with the Nuggets, what we're seeing right now is the same exact starting five, the same exact bench unit, minus Bruce Brown, which we're seeing how big of a loss that was. And we're seeing the negative effects of both of those teams staying content, staying pat in a league where you have to get better every single year.
Mm-hmm. With the Nuggets roster, I thought with the Bruce Brown departure especially,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly thought that one of, if not multiple, of the young wing trio with Julian Strawther, Christian Brown, Payne Watson especially, I thought at least one of those guys would step up to be not the exact same player as Bruce Brown, obviously, but to be a near replacement in his absence.
Yeah.
And although they've all shown flashes throughout the season, it's not there off the bench, not at all. And even with that, them not even getting another backup point guard, a proven backup point guard, sticking with Reggie Jackson, which obviously he's been a huge.
He had a good game one, but that's basically been the only good game of the playoffs.
He's not been good at all.
Yeah.
And not even a backup big, keeping DeAndre Jordan. And I don't even know why they did this, giving Zeke Naji $8 million a year for the next 4 years, where he hasn't even proven to be really an NBA player within his tenure with the Nuggets.
Yeah.
He's not even getting minutes, too.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing is that he didn't get minutes over DeAndre Jordan last year. And he's not getting minutes over, how old is DeAndre Jordan right now?
I think like 35 has to be.
Minimum, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan.
Boy, been in the league for a minute.
35, yeah. You're right. Birthday coming up, too, in like 2 months. So, well, he'll be 36 after the year. But to have consistently been getting outplayed by him where your team doesn't even trust you in the regular season to develop over him, and yet you still pay him like money where you could have, I don't know, traded maybe Reggie Jackson's money or tried trading some money away, using that $8 million, saying, hey, Bruce, I know that you're probably worth more in the open market, but you want to run it back because championships mean a thing in the world. And instead of doing that, they just kind of stayed pat.
Yeah, and we didn't know how good the West would be this year compared to last season, but looking at all of the teams emerging, like Mavs, like Minnesota especially, I honestly didn't expect that due to internal issues.
Yeah.
So salute to them for turning it around.
Yeah.
And other teams like I think those are the main teams that I mentioned. Oh, OKC too.
Sure.
OKC.
Yeah.
OKC too.
Yeah. I just looked at the Knicks score. Low fill-in. 5 minutes into the third quarter. Pacers are up 11.
Damn.
Leading scorer Tyrese Halliburton being aggressive. 10 of 17. 5 minutes into the second. Leading scorer for the Knicks, Dante DiVincenzo. 4 of 6 from 3 for 23 points. 8 of 17. Brunson is having 5 of 14, 1 of 4. Not the best game.
Yeah, I'll wave the white. Yeah, I'll wave the white flag on DiVincenzo. You win that debate, man.
That feels like that's a good win. That's a good win.
Yeah, I tried. My fault. DiVincenzo, you're him. Shout out Villanova.
Thank you. It's good to be right. It's good to be right.
All
right. But let's move on to the next series then.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Mavs OKC. What are your thoughts?
Mavs OKC. I don't have necessarily a takeaway. I have more so a question. And the question is of the Thunder's experience. Because I think right now is the most the Thunder's experience has been tested. because we saw in the first round they obviously took care of business at home, and they weren't playing the best team in the New Orleans Pelicans without Zion Williamson. Now you're going to Dallas, which Dallas I think has an underrated home crowd, and the series is tied, and you have to get a game on the road, otherwise series could basically be wraps. And you have to do that when Luka Doncic finally looks like he's getting hot in the playoffs, where Kyrie has been good, and where those role players who notoriously have been like on the road play better at home, because obviously you play better at home for most players. And so in that hostile environment, going against 2 top 10 players, I'm interested to see if that playoff experience will show or lack of will show. And that's my biggest question right now.
For sure. Hey, all I know is that one of the players within their starting lineup from last night and basically the whole season, that guy shouldn't play for the rest of the series.
Well, I mean, he got like 11 minutes last night. Like he's gonna get cut out of the rotation
I understand,
for sure.
But I'm just saying it right now. Josh Giddey, get out of here, brother. Nah, hasn't made a 3 yet in this series.
Yeah,
5 points, 4 rebounds, showing you little to no production on both sides of the ball. When he's on the court, their plus minus for this series is minus 27.
I saw last night he played 11 minutes and he was a minus 20. Yeah. That is disgusting.
And when he's on the bench, their plus minus is plus 40.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Aaron Wiggins, who before the postseason started, I've stated that I'm a big fan of him, and I feel he should replace Giddey in the starting lineup. For Mark Daigneault, my brother, it is about that time.
Yeah, I've been saying he's the best Wiggins in the league. I've been a big fan of his throughout the year, probably higher on him the most, but I just think it's time. Previously, I said maybe you insert Cason Wallace into that starting lineup, but I just think that for the matchup, I think Aaron Wiggins is just the better player.
Yeah, as much as I love Cason Wallace, he just don't have the height, especially against the Kyrie and all their other tall wings, unfortunately.
But I also don't dislike the idea of like Josh Giddey coming off the bench. At least I don't know about trying it in a playoff series, but like we saw what he did last year, or not last year. We saw what he did this year when like Shea and J-Dub were out, where he went on that like crazy 4-game streak where he had like triple doubles or whatever. I would like the idea of him being like a Russell Westbrook type player, where he kind of runs the bench unit, because I think that's probably where he best fits as of right now with this team.
Hey, if that were to happen, I want him to get Gordon Hayward's minutes.
Oh, well,
that man Hayward hasn't done a single thing. I'm sorry, a single thing. He gets like 5 to 8 minutes a game, and hey, when I'm watching these Thunder playoff games, he's invisible on the court.
Yeah, I think Giddey's done though. I think 11 minutes starting the game and only playing 11 minutes basically means you're done in the rotation.
For sure.
But J. Will's been good. I actually like the J. Will minutes off the bench. I was really worried when one of my biggest I don't think I had the Thunder as a loser after the trade deadline, but one thing that I stressed was that I wish that they had gotten like a big just to back up Chet, just in case you go against a series where he doesn't look good against like Anthony Davis or Jokic. Like you would have a more stocky big who wouldn't get as posted up. But J. Will has been like a really good backup big for them.
For sure. And the concern is still there if they were to advance and play against the Timberwolves, or even if the Nuggets, if they do come back from their 2-0 deficit.
Yep.
Just the size and overall strength advantage that those teams I just mentioned have over a guy like Jalen Williams, I think that would be too big of a disadvantage for him to overcome. But like you said, in the minutes he has been getting so far, he's been very well, especially in this Mavs series. Yeah,
for sure. I think that's all I got on the series, unless you got something else.
I would like to say for Game 2, I really liked how they used Luka in more off-ball situations just to throw the defense off Oklahoma's and make their offense more diverse and not as one-dimensional. And with what I've been seeing from Dallas when their offense has been struggling, especially in the Clippers series when Luka is so much ball dominant and the shots aren't hitting for Luka, and especially with his nagging injuries throughout this postseason, the offense struggles as a result. So I would like to say shout out to Jason Kidd for fixing that and making an adjustment to have Kyrie be more ball dominant and have him set up the offense, which he's done a very good job with his playmaking, Kyrie Irving. So far.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier how last game he didn't have the shooting performance. Like I think he might have even finished. No, he didn't have single digits, but he was close to it. But he had double-digit assists, which is like it's almost become kind of weird how it's been untypical from Kyrie to really get double-digit assists, and it's more so just because Luka is so ball dominant and Kyrie is resorted to the spot up.
And also because for his career, Kyrie has been known as a scorer-first point guard.
Right.
That's always been his Achilles heel, even dating back to Cleveland.
Right.
The man cannot really be a consistent playmaker. So for him to have an improvement right now with his age and lead this Mavs team in that regard, it's great to see.
Yeah. And then I gave some shout-outs in the Timberwolves series. We got to give a shout-out, and I'm always bad with like some GM's names. I don't know the Dallas Mavericks GM name, but I think that he deserves a round of applause for what he did. Nico Harrison. Because, look, you waved the white flag on Dante DiVincenzo. I've been needed to wave the white flag on Grant Williams. And for him to basically throw Grant Williams some big money in the offseason, and instead of just staying pat, living with the mistake, and just being there, he acknowledged the mistake and instantly made the trade for P.J. Washington, where he also got Daniel Gafford. And because of it, we're seeing the Dallas Mavericks be successful. And I don't think we would be seeing that same success with Grant Williams. So I think we got to give him a big round of applause.
For sure. Salute to P.J. Washington as well.
Yeah.
Another accusation Harrison got during this trade deadline, had 29 points, as we mentioned before. Hey, a lot of post-up actions I saw from the other game last night. And Washington obviously converted them. Hey, and as the series progresses, if he can continue to step up as that other option compared to a Kyrie and a Luka, that would take the Mavs a long way.
Absolutely.
Gafford too as well. He's been solid in his minutes.
He's been solid. I've actually really been impressed with how Derek Lively has responded over the first couple playoff games. He kind of looked shaky. Obviously, you were getting his rookie mistakes, which is typical from a rookie. But he's definitely, like, you can see him maturing in the playoffs.
For sure.
Which I like. But shall we move on to the last series?
Yeah. Man, I just want to say that the media should be giving more love especially. I'm not seeing it compared to these other series.
Oh, yeah. Well,
other than Celtics Cavs, of course. But
yeah, it's probably the third-ranked series.
For sure.
But I there's definitely more talent in it than the Knicks Pacers series. I can agree. It just doesn't have. It just hasn't had a close game yet, and I think that's the problem.
It doesn't really have the narratives either.
Yeah. There's no storybook thing. I think. What do you think's number one? Knicks Pacers or Nuggets Wolves?
Nuggets Wolves.
I think so too.
Obviously, and getting crowned as the face of the NBA or the future face of the NBA, taking down the defending Nuggets 2-0, could possibly sweep them as well. That's the biggest storyline.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is, and it's definitely something that I know you're rooting for. But if we want to get into this last series, I actually have an interesting takeaway. And that's since Game 4 of Cleveland Magic, since Game 5 of Cleveland Magic, there's been a new starting center for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And instead of playing power forward, it's been Evan Mobley. And he's been everything you wanted. And look, I understand that Jared Allen was phenomenal in those 4 games. He actually looked really good in those 4 games. But he doesn't have the potential or the ceiling of Evan Mobley. And right now, I saw a stat on my phone yesterday. Evan Mobley alone has more blocks than the Minnesota Timberwolves roster combined in the playoffs. And so a lot of people were projecting Evan Mobley to have this depoy type of a season, especially after he made all defensive first team last year, and then I think he was a top 3 finalist.
Yeah, he was.
And he kind of took a step back this year. And now we're seeing him at the 5, and he's playing his best ball on both courts. He was very aggressive yesterday, which is something to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the best we've seen him play, and my takeaway is that, look, Jared Allen is very good. You got him on a good contract, but you probably, I think, should trade him to let Evan Mobley flourish.
Yeah, and speaking on his aggressiveness, hey, that game 2 last night was phenomenal from him.
Yeah.
Offensively.
Yeah.
Finished with 21 points on 9 of 15 shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been the case with me for Evan Mobley,
Mm-hmm.
his offensive game.
Yeah.
Because even during his time at USC, I always thought he had the tools to be a great offensive player.
Right.
It's just his mentality on that side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And with what I saw in game 2, which obviously his footwork in the paint is a huge advantage, especially with his quickness.
Mm-hmm.
Him using that against Al Horford and Xavier Tillman, getting them off foot, off balance, being able to finish around the rim, and also to hit a couple outside open shots, and we gave him the shots as well too.
Yeah, the 3-pointer's been falling in the playoffs. I was surprised to see that.
It was falling for sure, unfortunately. But speaking on Mobley, it was just great to see.
Yeah. Right now I see that Mobley for this series against the Celtics is averaging 19 and 11 on 63% from the field. And that's like, if you can get that for the next 10 years with his defense, you'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to highlight just the impressive amount of blocks he's had over the last couple games. So starting with game 2, and we'll work our way back. 2 blocks, 1 block, 5 blocks, 5 blocks, 2 blocks, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 1 block, and 3 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just blocks. That's not even counting all the shots he's affecting near the rim or in the paint. And I just think that with his defensive ceiling, with what he brings to the court, and that being his best feature, his best asset, what he does on that side of the court, as an organization, you have to let that shine. And him being the former 3rd overall pick, the front court kind of looking shaky when it's together, I just think that it makes sense to split it up now after you're seeing this surge with him.
Still continuing the agenda, huh?
Still continuing.
It's a good agenda.
It's cooking right now.
Yeah, it's cooking for sure.
It's cooking right now.
It's cooking for sure. But yeah, Mobley, who I thought was going to be the X factor for this team heading into this series, especially with the lack of big man depth that Cleveland has without Jared Allen, who I don't think he's going to come back. I think the rib injury is too serious.
Yeah. But I do like how he's been sitting with the bench.
For sure, man. Hey, for an injured player, especially as a star, you gotta sit with your boys.
Julius Randle has missed a couple of games.
Yeah.
Julius Randle's missed a couple of games. I haven't been happy about that.
Okay, but dependent on health. If you are healthy to travel with the team, hey, represent.
True. I don't. That's a good question. I don't know if Randle's been to every Knicks game. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Or game in New York. I mean, I know he hasn't been there like when we were in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious if he's been there every time we were in New York, because I saw him there when we were playing the Pacers. In New York at MSG. But what about Celtics? What about the Celtics takeaways?
All right, so let's talk about the massive elephant in the room in Jayson Tatum.
Yep.
While I do think he hasn't had a horrible postseason, just from the different ways that he's been contributing on the court, such as rebounding, playmaking, especially with the looks he's been given. Nets series highlighted him being double, triple teamed as well. Him being able to kick it out to the open man, being able to swing the ball has been a massive contributor towards our offense being as successful as it has been this postseason, as well as his defense, which is still great. What are you going to say?
I want to ask you this. Can we agree Jaylen Brown has been your best player? Okay, so then I might not even bring up the second part then.
I was gonna say Derek White, but
Oh, really? Okay, I was gonna say,
yeah,
has Derek White been better than Tatum? As my second question.
no.
So, so you were about to say Derek White's your team's best player, but Tatum over Derek White.
I mean, to me, for our top three, it goes White, although he was pretty bad in last night.
Yeah.
White, Tatum, then Brown.
Really, I think Brown's been really good, although he's been somewhat inefficient.
Yeah, that's my issue.
Yeah,
His inefficiency,
that's
and
fair.
also his defense. Last game wasn't good. Derek White wasn't good as well defensively, but he's obviously been more efficient and effective offensively.
Man, I love that for Derek White. Did you see the memes that came out after Game 3 against the Heat where Messi was at the game?
Yeah,
And people were like, now Messi's going to think Derek White's the best player in the
Yeah.
league after he dropped 40.
yeah, and also that was a really funny meme.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, for sure.
I enjoyed that.
That was awesome. But speaking on Derek White,
Mm-hmm.
I love him, man. One of my favorite Celtics of all time. And for this postseason, he's been relatively great. But he should not be your main playmaker,
No.
and especially your main shot creator in these playoff games. Most definitely when you're down at home in an important game 2 where you could have possibly swept the 2 home games and had a much easier road with the next 2 to possibly sweep the Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
Jayson Tatum, man, look, although I am a little bit worried with how they've been utilizing him, especially when he has the ball, being in these post actions,
Mm-hmm.
still, that's no excuse to have Max Strus, albeit his defense has been phenomenal. Tatum is 4 for 13 when guarded by Strus this series so far.
Mm-hmm.
For Tatum, you're 6'9", 6'10", and have been talked about like a superstar talent in this league for the past
Since he was 19.
no, for like the past 3 years now. And look, I understand the sacrifice and the emphasis on team basketball, which I have been loving for this whole season. That's how players like Tatum and Brown can stay fully fit if we were to make a deep run. But in moments that happened last night, when you're down at home, White's been poor shooting from 3. Drew Holiday, who has not been good offensively at all this entire postseason, which I'm not really going to get into him like that because he's like our, 5th best option offensively,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to talk about him like that. For Tatum, right, you got to empty the clip.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, for team basketball, this ball movement, sharing offense, that has to be completely discarded. For the best player on a title contending team, moments like that, and I'm talking about Brown too as well, is when you empty the clip.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
And also, again, I do understand the sacrifice. I do understand the sacrifice part. But it's the playoffs. Role players are going to shoot poorly in certain games. It's just a given.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's home or especially on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a superstar, again, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to keep egging this on. You got to empty the damn clip, bro. You got to empty the clip. I do not want to see these fall away middies on defenders that have a 4 or 5 inch disadvantage over you. Please, brother. Please, I'm begging you.
I'm saying I completely agree, especially with what we're seeing in the playoffs this year, because we're seeing in the fourth quarter when it's down to the nitty gritty and it's a close game, we're seeing Jalen Brunson take over and his team having great success. We're seeing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander take over. We're seeing Anthony Edwards take over. We're seeing Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving and Jamal Murray and Jokic take over. And that's because those are elite guys, and they understand that in the late game stretch, they have to take over because that's their job. And as a result, they're getting great results, and they're in the second round. And with Tatum and Brown, look, you were obviously going to win the Heat series because there was just no talent on the Heat roster outside of Bam, really. And I liked the Hawkes and Highsmith minutes a little bit, I guess. But it just wasn't a fair matchup between the teams, especially without Jimmy Butler. Mm-hmm. But this is a series you should win, and you can't be losing games like this, and you need to be aggressive so you don't lose games like this. And that means when you're down 10, taking the big shots, like Donovan Mitchell did when his team was down 18, leading to that comeback. And I just feel like in those big moments, that's where those two stars have lacked throughout their career.
Yeah, and speaking on the losses, these home losses, man, even for these past couple of years, are so damn infuriating, man. Because with this season, they've always been talking about, oh, we have to protect home court, we have to protect home court, we got to protect the Garden.
Mm-hmm.
For us, where in the regular season, we only lost 4 home games out of 40. Moving on to the playoffs, we've already lost 2.
Mm-hmm.
We've blown the home court advantage in 2 straight series where we were the clear favorites to win it. And that's not even counting the previous history where last year we blew 2 home games to a mediocre Atlanta Hawks team.
Mm-hmm.
Trae Young was great, but still, there was no reason for Atlanta to get 2 wins over us in that series in the first round, especially at home. Look, man, although I do love the adjustments we've been making after facing adversity, whether it's after the Game 2 loss against Miami, I thought that was phenomenal, and especially during the regular season as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just the straight up, lying down in these games where we should have one of the best home court advantages in the entire league. The Garden is a historical stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It should be treated as such. This is why this is such a difference compared to the Knicks in MSG. Y'all don't lose in MSG.
Yeah.
Y'all treat it like y'all baby.
That's the home pitch, as they say in England. But I honestly think it just comes from, I don't necessarily know if grateful or appreciative is the right word, but for the Knicks, this is what the first time we really have a chance of the conference finals. And I mean, I guess if we're counting Melo 2012, that's 10 years or that's 12 years. But before that, 25, 30 years.
I mean, 2001, around that time.
And so Knicks fans are extremely appreciative of it, whereas I feel like Celtics fans have almost grown accustomed to it, and they're like, oh, Cavs on paper, we should win, and they take it for granted. Where in reality, you got to show up for your team. That's part of being a fan.
For sure. And that could also be a case for the high ticket prices. That's a major factor, but still, for fans to dip out of the stadium,
mm-hmm.
with 6 minutes left of the fourth quarter, not cheering our players on, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And you compare that to the Mavs-Clippers Game 5. They were at home, Dallas. It was during Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
They had the big-ass deficit,
mm-hmm.
and they were chipping away. And a major factor was because of the crowd.
Right.
Even when they were down by 25,
right,
it was still loud.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we're down by 5, the Garden's silent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, bro, what's going on?
And you mentioned the Mavericks-Clipper series. You can also look at the Nuggets-Lakers series because the Nuggets were down at half in every home game, and sometimes even by double digits, and yet the home crowd sticked with them, and they knew that sometime fourth quarter Jamal or Jokic spectacular would kick in, or MPJ shooting, and it looked like all 3 of them did at some point. And they obviously won the series in a convincing fashion. Whereas with the Celtics, as you said, there's not that cohesion between the fans and the team.
No, not at all. Something's got to change, man. Something has to change.
I want to ask you, who do you like more now that you've kind of seen a good majority of them between Ime and Mazzulla?
I'm still rocking with Joe.
Yeah.
I'm still rocking with Joe.
The offense is that good?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Compared to Udoka, it's better by a landslide. Although Ime and his defensive adjustments, it's still an improvement over Missoula's. Although I do believe Missoula has improved on that end compared to his first year. I still take Joe in general.
Ooh, by the way, tell me about this assistant head coach the Celtics.
Oh, you talking about Charles Lee?
Yeah, that got hired by the Hornets.
Yeah, top assistant. We got him over the offseason. He's going to be great for Charlotte.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where'd you get him from?
Shoot. Trying to remember.
Fair. But yeah, I think this might be a good year for assistants. Like, obviously, Coach Bud is a former head coach that got fired. Charles Lee's an assistant that's getting hired. I think there's going to be a lot of assistants that take the head coaching vacancies.
Oh, for Milwaukee.
Jordy Fernandez.
Yeah, for Milwaukee.
Yeah. Dang. So y'all got. Hopefully, it turns out better than the Adrian Griffin situation.
No, I think it will.
Yeah.
I think it will.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, I do too. I remember during the preseason heading into this year where Terry Stotts, like an NBA veteran head coach, been around the block probably 20 years or something like that. He's definitely been in the game for a while. Where he basically was initially an assistant on Griffin's staff and then left before the season even started. And when you have like a vet and experienced coach like that guy leave a coaching staff out of the blue before a single game is played, the alarm should have been sounded.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to us, that's why we got cooked last year, obviously because of the Ime situation. When we hired Missoula, it was in late September, and that was obviously a couple weeks before the actual regular season started. And for that, with a first-year head coach having to manage a win-now roster, especially with a depleted coaching staff, Will Hardy left to Utah the same year to become their head coach, obviously. So Missoula, that's why I gave him, a not really a pass, but lenience for how last year turned out, because he was in a new position with limited quality assistants. For us to bring Charles Lee, especially, into the helm, along with guys like Sam Cassell, was leaps and bounds for our development, especially with Missoula's.
Yeah, good show. I personally would take Ime. Maybe that's a little biased.
It is biased.
But
you don't like Missoula.
I
know, bro. You won't admit it.
I just want to see
right,
Missoula, or I just think Ime would be better with this team. One, defensively, Ime would be absurd.
We did the same shit with Ime when if you're talking about like choking, we did the same shit with Ime.
Well, I mean, he got y'all to the finals, but
it was the same shit. We almost choked in Game 7 versus Miami. We had a 10-point lead with 2 minutes remaining. We almost choked it. And if Jimmy
doesn't
had
take
not,
the pull up.
if Jimmy hit the 3, then you would have been seeing on First Take that like the next few weeks after that was, the Celtics choked. They're massive chokers. It was the same thing.
Yeah, but I think Ime with this team would be better. You like that defense in 22 was unreal, and now you have Derek White, like all NBA defense, Drew Holiday, and Porzingis.
Our offense is great too.
I think defense wins championships.
We're defensively, bro.
I mean, y'all were top 10
in
defensive rating. Y'all were top 10 in offensive and defensive rating.
Exactly.
But I think you were the year with Missoula as well, or I mean with Udoka as well.
I'm pretty sure we weren't top 10 offensive rating.
You were?
We weren't, no. And if we were, we'd probably be at like the bottom of that top 10. Albeit it's still top 10, but it's not as like great.
Who is that starting lineup, by the way? It was obviously
that year.
Yeah, it was obviously Brown and Tatum in the lineup. I'm trying to remember who's your point guard. Marcus Smart.
Yeah, it was Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart. Was Derek White starting at that point?
After he was, I believe, the 2 guard.
2 guard. Okay, then Brown, Tatum, and then Horford at your 5.
Yeah,
not bad.
Although when Rob was put into the starting lineup,
it was Rob. It was Rob.
You're right. It was like Rob at I believe at the 4 and out the 5.
Yeah, that was good. That was good Rob minutes. That was like Sneaky depoy Rob.
Yeah. I miss Rob, man. Screw injuries. It was unfortunate how we got traded.
By the way, little score update in this next game. What did I tell you about how you can tune in with 3 minutes left and it'll be one score? It's 99-98 with 7 minutes left in the fourth.
I'm about to pull this up.
Leading scorer for the Knicks is Dante DiVincenzo with 35 points. And leading scorer for the Pacers is Tyrese Halliburton with 35 points.
Since you're a fan, by the way, do you want to wrap this up?
Yes. I will wrap it up.
Sweet.
Leave a like and subscribe to Lunchroom Debates on all platforms, on IG, on TikTok, on YouTube. Listen to the podcast on Spotify or YouTube and continue to show the love, and we'll keep getting videos out to you.
Absolutely. Man. Summer is when we grind. Grind never stops, but summertime, we got to lock in.
Lock in?
For sure.
We'll get Andrew to say it just with all the cuss words.
Nah, we're not doing that.
We'll stay monetized.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Works for me.
Yeah.
Works for me. But other than that, anything else to add?
Nah. We win the chip, though. We're still alive. Banner 18 still alive.
I bet. I'll see you after Game 7 when the Knicks win.
We gotta make a bet on that series.
Oh, we will. You gotta get there first, though.
We will. Get
How
there
the
first.
tables have turned.
We're gonna get there first. Don't worry about us.
Bet.
Don't worry about us. Don't worry.
Fair. We'll see. If that man Joe Mazzulla gets out coached by JB Bickerstaff, though, there will be questions.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be worried about that. We're good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, then we are out of here.
Yup.
And peace.
Let it up.